Hey guys, my name is Aaron, and thank you again for joining me today at the French River Homestead. I'm really happy you could be here. We're going to continue on today with part 5 of our kitchen cabinet build, and in this video we're going to start taking a look at the frames for the doors and also the panels for the drawer fronts. In part 4 I got most of the drawers done, but I finished the rest of those afterwards, so I am ready to move on. I'll put a link in the cards to the rest of the playlist if you'd like to see that in its entirety, but for now, let's get started.
So the first thing I'm going to do here is just edge glue a bunch of pieces of 1x pine just for the drawer faces. These are just going to be to laminate and make a panel that's going to fit for the drawer opening in the cavity for which the drawer fits. So I did that by measuring the overall width and length of the drawer face that I needed and then subtracting an 1/8 inch overall from both dimensions to give me a 1/16 of an inch reveal all the way around the drawer face once it's set in on the drawer. Now this is pretty easy, just a bunch of clamps edge glued together. Trying to be careful to make sure that the boards line up. I think for one of the drawers it was just 2 boards, so that was pretty easy, but then for the 2 other drawer faces it was 3 boards. So just try to make sure that the boards don't slide and move around, and a little bit is okay. You can clean that up with a little bit of hand planing or sanding, but the better you can do to keep it from cupping during the glue up, it's going to save you a lot of headaches later on. So now I'm just cutting to length all of the rails and stiles that are going to be for the doors. Making sure I'm going to do half lapped rails and stiles, so I want to make sure to add the dimensions of the actual rails and stiles to the overall length of it, so that way they'll be able to overlap. And you'll see that here in the end once I show you how I'm going to put it together. I can lay it out a little bit so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But you take the overall width of your cavity for the door and make sure that you don't subtract the width for the rails and stiles, because you need that extra width to be able to overlap on both sides. So both the rails and stiles will overlap each other, so don't subtract anything from your overall length. I think I did subtract the same 1/8 of an inch to give me a 1/16 inch reveal, and that ended up being a little bit too tight. I had to shave that down a little bit later on once I had the whole door complete, but it's better to shave it down in that circumstance once it's all done, instead of trying to compensate early on and then ending up too small. So once I have all of my rails and stiles cut to length, I'm going to rip a 1/2 inch rabbet down the back of each piece, so that way when my doors are put together I'll be able to house a 1/2 inch piece of plywood for the actual panel with a 1/4 inch reveal, since this is a 3/4 inch stock piece of pine. So it'll be 1/2 inch rabbet on the back, and then, which you can see here, the rabbet, and then a 1/4 inch reveal to the face. Normally I would have just ripped a groove down the center of the rails and stiles and set the panel in there, but for one of the doors is actually a drawer face, and so I needed it to be flush to the actual drawer to have a place to adhere it to. So that's why I opted for this style of doing the panel in a rabbet to the back. It's just a little bit different, and it turned out fine. I think it looks just as good as it normally would. It took me a little bit of work to figure it out in my head to combine this rabbet also with the half lap in the corners of the rails and stiles, so that way I wasn't cutting away any of the material that I needed for the half flap joint. And then the last part is to remove the material for the cheeks of the half lap. And I do have a dado blade on my radial arm saw, which would have worked a lot quicker, but that's in storage right now, so I didn't have really easy access to it. So this table saw that I have doesn't allow for a dado blade stack to be installed, and the width of my blade takes about 1/8 of an inch off each time, so I had to remove 2.5 inches overall from each cheek of the half flap joint. So it took some time, but just with multiple passes I'm able to remove 1/8 of an inch off each time. And then here you can see how everything lays out. The rails have the half lap joint removed from the face side with the 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch rabbet on the back side for the plywood panel, and then the stiles have a 1/2 inch removed from the half lap joint on the back side, also with the rabbet for the plywood panel. So I'm just going to glue these up and then tack them together with some brads on the nail gun. And then with the plywood panel cut to dimension, it'll fit right inside this little rabbeted joint. I'm just going to give a little bead of glue, and then I wanted to flip it over and tack it from the front just in case I had any of the nail guns blow out the side or do anything weird. That way it would hopefully be hidden in the back of the panel instead of shooting out the front. Like I've mentioned before, I've had some trouble with this nail gun, so I just wanted to make sure that any errors or flaws would be seen on the back side as opposed to the front after all this work to make the panel. So that's the only reason why I'm flipping it. You could just as easily do it from the back. Also, this way it would have been a little bit harder to delineate where the actual rabbet ended and the panel began, so it might not make a lot of sense, but I wanted to flip it to drive the nails in from the front. And that's really all there is to it, guys. Super easy design for panels and drawer faces. The hardest part about this whole step in the process was actually installing them. I used some different hinges that are soft close for inset doors that I hadn't used before, so it took me some work to get the fit right. Otherwise, everything worked out pretty good and easy. We just gave it a quick coat of paint and put them on. So if you have any questions or comments on this video or anything else in general on our homestead, please leave a note in the comment section below. And if you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Otherwise, thanks for watching.